Welcome to the Live Better, Explore More podcast. I'm Alan Mayseal, and we're all back together. I got Dave King, Elece Hempel. We're going to talk about staying active as we age.
Welcome to the Live Better, Explore More podcast with your host, Alan Mayseal. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe.
Welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Alan?
Good.
Did you walk here?
No, I have a problem right now with my back.
Oh.
So
There you go.
I did walk this morning though.
You walk. So let's talk about walking, because I know you're big. You're up at 5:30. You take Cuba out walking, right? And then you also take your dog for a walk.
Every morning. I took her to the beach this morning, very early.
Did you walk to the beach?
I did not walk to the beach. I don't know that she'd make it. I know I wouldn't. So between the two of us, we probably would have protested somewhere around Middle Two Rock. But no, I drove down to Dillon and got her out. So she got a chance to run. I don't know how many miles I walked, but probably a mile and a half to 2 miles. And usually around town, I get her out for a couple miles every morning. And in this weather, because taking her to a dog park in the mud is.
It's a mess.
It's a mess, yeah. She lives in the house, so I got enough trouble keeping my house up right now as it is. So having a dog that's not helping is not. It's not helping.
That sounds like your dog. Your dog lives in the house.
My dog lives in the house, but I think
Sleeps between the two owners.
sleeps between the two owners and rules the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, Cuba don't wake up happy is the motto. So I think, one of the things that why I asked, did you walk, is as we age, and I'm going to share that all of us in this room are aging, I think it's important that we figure out how to find ways to continue to be active, in part because that's what's going to keep us healthier. If it keeps us healthier, then we're going to have this opportunity to be able to engage in our community in a lot longer way. And so, the city of Petaluma and Healthy Petaluma are taking on the Blue Zones, which involves a component of exercise and moderate exercise. And so finding ways to find that ability to exercise is really part of how we age in our community.
But it's not, with Blue Zones, they're more, not taken away from it, but they're not like the, go run a bunch of miles, ride your bike a bunch of miles, swim 1,000 miles.
Well, most of us aren't like you.
Well, I don't do any of that stuff. I drive a lot of miles. But I mean, like gardening, they consider gardening as part of an exercise, right? And if anybody remember raking leaves, all it takes is a small lawn and your back's sore and your hands hurt. But, walking, doing things that aren't as intensive as playing tennis, right? So they're more about movement and not necessarily what specific type of movement.
Well, but so when you're 65 years old, a 3-mile walk every morning is, most people would consider more than just movement. They would consider that exercise. And you're not only getting cardiovascular exercise, but you're also getting fresh air. And that's really important to your body and the health of your mind as you continue to age.
You think so?
Yes, fresh air. Yeah, I believe that most of us require fresh air to survive. But I think any type of exercise is generally good for anybody of any age. We're talking about aging today, but kids that don't exercise, I think, also have problems later on in life. They don't have the same flow of movement. They don't. Many of them don't ever get into a pattern of exercise.
Right.
I think there's walking is probably typically the easiest on your body, and then you can kind of ratchet it up from there. And I play a couple of team sports, more than a couple, and you can get some exercise that way. And there's a lot of other ways to do it. And I find going out and doing that is more fun than going to a gym. No knocking the gyms in town. I'm a member of a gym, but I much prefer that. I'm not sure how much exercise I get walking because I have a dog, and I have to convince her not to sniff at everything every 4 feet. But, so we have a negotiation at some point where we have to walk for a bit. But I think it's excellent. I know, and I know a lot of the people in this town, this area, ride bikes, and are able to get out and go great distance. You asked me if I walk to the beach, which for anybody out of town, that's about 25 miles each way. But there are people who ride, not to the beach necessarily, but they ride to Tamales, which is probably in the 20-mile range from here. And, you see them on the roads. You see them, there's individual groups that go out, and then there's events that happen. And they're right out there on the Petaluma Tamales Road all the time.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times. Out to that used to be I think it's still a bakery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that seems like the bike spot that everybody stops.
I think it's a stop where everybody stops. It's got great baked goods, and the sandwich place next door is outstanding too. I don't stop there very often because I got the dog in the car and I want to get her back. But I think there's all types of exercise. We participate, you and I, in team sports.
Right.
And I think another aspect of exercise, I think it's probably for me the primary aspect, is the mental part of it, being with the guys.
Right.
I think my softball team, which I think you played one game on, and
got cut. No, thank you.
Well, you didn't get cut. You just never came
I was
back.
only 3 for 5, and I got cut.
Yeah,
Because everybody else was 4 for 5 and 5 for 5.
I think it was
wicked.
The nasty conditions you were playing under, and
that was brutal.
Jackson Playground, which hasn't been gotten any upkeep in 40 years, maybe even more than that. But it's being with the guys and joking around and just having something to do. And typically with most teams, it goes beyond the games that you play at this age. You have other things you do. We golf a couple times a year as a group. One of the advantages we had is that about 15 years ago, we started getting the sons of some of the guys that had played for years and their friends to come out and play. So they're in their 30s now. They're not young kids anymore. And they're good, so they get to do most of it now. And the old guys come out, and we play a limited part of the game and try not to get in the way.
You do your best work afterwards at that bar, don't you?
I probably do.
I love that. I love that you brought up the social and emotional part of connecting with other people, because that is one of the things that drives us. I get up and walk, and my friend says to every person that we walk by in the morning, I wouldn't walk if I didn't know that she was standing on the corner at 5:30 waiting for me. And so that motivation to be up with somebody else, to be part of who they are and learn about all of the things that's going on in their life, and having that opportunity to have that emotional contact is really, really important, and even more important when we start to age. We don't, you get fewer and fewer friends that you actually share things with, and finding that somebody who you can exercise with, whether it be walking or even playing tennis with, after the game, you're having a conversation and you're connecting. And I think that's really another important component of how we age in our community.
Yeah. I think the social piece to me is a big piece of it. I mean, even you talk about when you're walking in the morning with, you got somebody that waiting on you. There's a certain level of, like we go through this in tennis, right? If you commit and there's going to be 4 people, it doesn't go over well if you don't show up for whatever reason. And people have some good reasons every now and then, but you have to show up. But the social piece, to me, especially on a baseball field, the goofiness that goes on in the dugout is probably most of the fun, because it's that nonsense that you can engage in, and nobody there's going to judge you because they're all being just as goofy as you are. But even pickleball's a good one. When you walk, if you go running around here, the social piece of it is probably a reason why some people don't do it, because they maybe don't have the friends there, or have that one person who says, no, come on, let's go. We have to get out and go do something to kind of push them along. And I think they would benefit more, I think we all would, if there was some social aspect to it that we actually liked. And that doesn't, we don't have a problem with that, and we don't have a problem with that. But I think there are people out there who, my knee hurts. I got a football injury when I was 18, and now I can't walk down to the store, right? Those types of things. With the going kind of tying in with the blue zones, I used to think as we got older we'd want a house where we didn't have to go upstairs to the bedroom, just all single level. And yet on the blue zones, when they show those 5 people, they all have stairs. And they live in a town where every road has this incline where you think, I would never leave the house. Everything's uphill. And yet those are the people who, so the things that I was thinking would be things people as we age wouldn't want anymore. Now you're seeing examples of that. That's why they're doing so well, is because they have to not struggle. They have to walk up hills. They have to move their bodies more so than just walking down the street like we would here.
So it was maybe 8 years ago when the then city manager, John Brown, I invited him to an age-friendly event in Sonoma County, because I sit on the age-friendly advisory committee, to work at making all of Sonoma County and Petaluma in particular age-friendly. And this is age-friendly is a commitment for a county or a community or municipality to make a specific point to look at how things are happening in their community to make them safer for people to continue to age, but then also encourage them to walk. And John was very hesitant to join in on any of those kinds of things. And when he said yes, I'm like, good God, I'll pick you up. I'll drive you up there because I don't want you to flake on me. And he sat through the presentations, and on the way home he said, we need to do better in Petaluma. We need to understand that we have to be able to cross the streets and make sure the timing on our street lights are long enough for somebody to get across the street so they don't have to run towards the end, and that's when they fall. Let's do better in Petaluma. And that's when the city of Petaluma adopted the age-friendly, which is a World Health Organization certification, and we're in the process, the city of Petaluma is in the process of becoming and working towards more age-friendly type of opportunities, which then also feeds into the blue zones to connect how we continue to age in our community. But I still remember John saying to me, look, I get it, because I just spent a holiday with my dad, and my dad was struggling to walk down the sidewalks in our small community because they weren't level, there were cracks in them, and we can do better as a city of Petaluma. And I think you were on the council when they adopted the age-friendly initiative to work towards that.
I was, and shortly after this, a couple men approached me about something called visitability, which was the concept was when new construction goes in, you factor in the aging population or the existence of the aging population in the world and some of the construction. So you make the stairs a little more easy to navigate, flat entryways, things like that. And there's a whole litany of ways to do it. So I brought that, it was 2018, late in 2018, so I brought it forward either the next year or the year after when we had our goal setting. And eventually we adopted the visitability ordinance, which is incorporated into the building codes now. But there's a lot of ways to look at a community and deal with aging. I think the Cool Block organizations that we have here, I think its main goal is environment oriented. When I've met with them, that's what it's been. But the blocks themselves are social organizations.
That's right. And
so there are lists made of people on the street, contact information. I know on our block, and I'm not that active. I get the emails for the meetings on Sunday mornings. We have one once a month, I think, and I haven't been. I'm not really attracted to being at meetings right now, and But I know that one of the things we have is an ongoing, updated, here are your neighbors, here are their names, here are their phone numbers, their email addresses. And having walked, we mentioned, started us out by walking dogs. I've been walking dogs in the neighborhood for 33 years. And so you get to see the changes and the human changes, not just the physical changes, but the human changes. Who's passed away, who's moved on, young couple comes in, older people, and you're kind of aware of where they are and make sure that I'm not that young, but I'm younger than a lot of these folks. You're available if something's needed. So I think that is an excellent piece of that program that I think goes a little under-regarded. But I think the other thing that happens to people when they get older and they get into their middle to late 60s or older than that is they have some significant life changes. Their kids are probably out of their house, for example. Given something we talked about in our first podcast, the cost of housing, a lot of the kids leave the area. So they don't have their family connection nearby, and that can have an impact. Many people retire, so they don't have the socialization that goes along with work. Many people lose a spouse or a significant other, and that's a change in your lifestyle that you really, I don't think, can prepare for too much, a little bit, but not too much. And so they've faced a situation where substantially their lives have changed in the most meaningful ways. And so that probably leads to a fair amount of potential isolation of people that ordinarily would be more social and out. And the isolation leads to probably some physical issues and mental issues and so forth, and probably just some general sadness. And it's overcoming that in a city like Petaluma. I think the first step is probably hard. The first steps are probably hard, but once you get into it, there's a lot of opportunity. But you have to take the opportunities, and it isn't just exercise and sports and things like that. There are arts, there are service clubs, there are just getting together at a cafe and having coffee in the morning with a group of people on a regular basis. I see that a lot because I go to these places I grab a cup of coffee to walk the dog, or I meet somebody, and there's the same group of people that have been in some of these places, on Tuesdays, or every day in some cases, for years. And I think that's great. I think that's one way. It isn't a physical exerting event, unless they maybe rode their bike or walked down to it, but it is a social event that keeps you there. And I think the one thing that all people need, whether they want to own up to it or not, is laughter. I mean, true laughter, where you really are laughing with people and enjoying it, not like political laughter these days seems to be about tearing somebody down.
Right.
Because they might have a stutter, for example, or something like that, or a disability. And so I think you need laughter. I think you need to have fun. There's no other really reason not to have it.
But I think that's part of activity. I mean, to go down to a coffee shop, right? Or, some of the places outside of our country, maybe inside our country, they have like a central square where you'll see people sitting at a table playing, checkers or chess or some game, and there'll be 4 or 5 people, 6 people standing around waiting to jump in and play. And so, no, that's not running or riding a bike, but I think that has a lot of value to it. And just the fact they get out of the house and go someplace to do something.
And not to keep taking it back to dogs, but my friend that I walk with, she always says, let Cuba smell. It's like running a lap for him, right? Because that stimulation that he gets from that contact with the smell really does stimulate his brain, which then feels like the endorphins are coming to the top, that same endorphin that you get when you exercise hard. Or so engaging other people and connecting with them is really a form of exercise. We just don't label it that way in the United States.
It doesn't fit under the, you don't put it under cardio, you don't put it under, this or that. You're right. It sits outside of that box. But
Yeah.
those are good things. Here's a question I thought about here. We started out in the first podcast with housing, and then we went to community involvement. How could we tie, some form of activity, okay, you name it, with community involvement? And I'll use this as an example. For the Butter and Egg Parade, they need monitors throughout the course, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. The route. And people that may just need to walk from this block to that block and make sure everybody's okay and back and forth. So that would be, an activity, and it would be community involvement. Am I stretching too much trying to tie the two together, or is it there's just really not a lot of opportunity?
No, I think they can be tied together, and it kind of goes back to what Dave was saying. If you enjoy what you're doing, then you're going to keep doing it. And so it's that connection with whoever you're doing it with. And sometimes it's okay to exercise by yourself. You may be getting that stimulation that then leads you to stop and get a coffee, and then you run into your buddy and you sit down and you have that coffee. And so I think that there's a lot of that ties together. And one of the things we continue to hear is about a 15-minute block or a 15-minute city. Everything we need should be within 15 minutes walking of where we are. Will we ever get that in Petaluma? No, because of how the development is on the other side of town in particular. But we have an opportunity to continue to learn and expand and think about, maybe we could put up a pop-up grocery store over at Sonoma Mountain Elementary School, and then all of a sudden we're 15 minutes from a pop-up grocery store. And those kinds of things will continue to happen in our community as we continue to especially age in our community, but also as we continue to look at how we're going to live happier and healthier lives.
Dave and I would like a 15-minute shed over there at Leghorn. Dave's tied to the community involvement and activities. He made the mistake of stepping forward and being the captain of the 3-5 tennis team here in Petaluma. And we both had the fun of trying to figure out how to open a shed. Not just the lock. The lock with a key wasn't enough. You had to learn to open it, and it took more than 15 minutes.
I would like to call into question the fact that that's not the first time you two have had a hard time opening something. I remember campaign signs were locked in a shed, and I had to go buy like monster pliers because nobody could remember the padlock number or something. Yeah. And I think the two of you were involved in that.
No, we just wanted you to have to do some exercise.
Alan was an innocent bystander. I lost the I think I lost the code to my lock, my storage lock, where these things were, and I had to get them out. So I had to go to Maselli Brothers and get a chopper.
We're going to have to find things that we can get involved in don't involve sheds.
Well, to make proper use of that, I think I'm going to have to go into a life of crime to just start breaking and entering, because I think I only used it the one time. It's sitting in the garage.
Oh, my God, that was funny.
I think one of the other things that came up just recently in our life is we were at a grandchild's birthday party, and I think he's, 85 years old? The guy who just bought an electric bike because he was a mountain biker, and he can't go up and down the mountains as much. He can't go up as quick and as fast, and so he bought an electric bike so he can go up so that he can go down just as fast as he wants. And so finding those ways to relive that enjoyment and not give up on those things that you like to do is really, really important. So maybe it's a step down from tennis to pickleball, or is that a step up? I don't know.
It's the fastest growing sport in America, pickleball is. And my experience has been for 2 hours of tennis, I burn the same energy 2 hours of pickleball. So I think you can do more socialization because there's more people in a smaller area than where tennis you have 2 people or 4 people on the court. In pickleball, you've got 4 courts and you got 4 people, and you pretty much can talk as much as you want or as little as you want. I don't think it's a step down.
I thought you were about to say you have an 85-year-old grandchild there
No,
for a minute.
no.
That's what I thought. I was like, what
No, we don't have an
I know who
85-year-old.
she's
People are really old.
we are. We're on the second round. All right, that I just wanted to wrap it up with trying to tie community involvement, and then I couldn't help but bring up the shed because
Yeah, well, the shed could use a lot of improvement. And if you don't know how to open that shed, you're not, speaking of breaking it,
yeah. If you have a criminal mind, contact us. We need help. All right.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.